それでは、定刻になりましたの
Ladies
で、
and
これ
gentlemen,
から
now it is time to start the press
IAEA による、
conference
記者会見を行います。いつものお
hosted
願
by
いではございますけれど
IAEA.
も、
As
質問される
usual,
方は手を挙げていただいて、
please raise your
所
hand
属と名
when
前をおっしゃって
you
か
would
ら
like
質
to
問の
ask
方をお
your
願いいたし
questions,
ま
and
す。
please state your name and
それで
affiliation
は司
prior
会の
to
方は、
asking your question.
IAEA ダールの方から、させ
Mr.
てい
Dahl
ただきます。
from IAEA is going to serve as an MC.
Good morning and welcome to this press conference about the IRRS follow-up mission to Japan, which just ended a short while ago. We issued a press release, which I think you all have a copy of in English. NRA has also translated it into Japanese. It's also available on our website. The topic of this press conference, of course, is the outcome of this mission. And we have with us today from your right, NRA Chairman Toyoshi Fuketa, and then the team leader of the mission, who Ramzi Jamal, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Regulatory Operations Officer in the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. And to your left, we have Greg Remkowski, who is the Director of the IAEA Division of Nuclear Installation Safety. And we will start with a few short introductory remarks by all the three speakers, after which they will be happy to take your questions on the topic of the mission. We have about an hour at your disposal. So I'll stop there and we'll start with Greg.
Let me explain very briefly why we are here. In the general area of safety, the role of the IAEA is to assist the member states in developing safety standards and in providing for their implementation. One of the means of implementation is the Integrated Regulatory Review Service, carried out here for 8 days, which was a follow-up mission to the initial mission held in 2016. The IRRS stands or refers to Integrated Regulatory Review Service, and those services are designed to strengthen the effectiveness of the national nuclear regulatory infrastructure based on IAEA safety standards and best international practice, while recognizing the responsibility of each country to ensure nuclear and radiation safety. It has to be understood that safety is a national responsibility, but at the same time is international challenge. And we collectively work, by we I mean the international community, to further strengthen the safety of a global nuclear framework. That's why we are here. Thank you very much.
Okay, one more time, Ohio gozaimasu. As a team leader, I would like to declare the fact that Japan has made considerable improvements with respect to allowing the NRA to be a fully functioning independent regulatory body. And the NRA itself has taken strong steps to enhance its regulatory programs. And it's very important, in closing, to say that communication and frequent communication with the industry should be considered as a positive step towards increased nuclear safety, and that will not compromise the independence of the regulator. In conclusion, nuclear safety has no borders. All the regulatory bodies in the world have a mandate in order to ensure nuclear safety for the protection of the public and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Well, this IRRS follow-up mission, at the completion, I would like to say a few words. Well, first of all, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude to all the IRRS team members for working so hard morning till late at night, including weekends. I would also like to thank them for collaborating sincerely with the NRA member and engaged in active discussion. Well, it was the same in the initial mission, but also in the follow-up mission. The main achievement is not only the report, which is going to be produced, but also in that process of having a good discussion. In the initial 2016 mission, we were highly recognized in our achievement and efforts in terms of good regulatory body with independence and transparency, as well as incorporating lessons learned and being prepared for the severe accident and natural disaster. And we received 13 recommendations and 13 suggestions at that time. And in this IRRS follow-up mission, they reviewed our response progress and achievement regarding these recommendations and suggestions. NRA have implemented many improvement measures based on the recommendations and suggestions from the initial mission. In this review mission, we were highly recognized in our efforts, including the new inspection system. It is our great pleasure. However, the new inspection system is just going to start, so we have to work harder for the secure implementation of the new system. One of the important lessons learned from the Fukushima accident is the importance of continuous improvement, which was lacking at that time. For NRA, the lacking improvement effort is not permissible. We should not resort to complacency, and we should work harder to make a continuous improvement. And I would like to express my commitment in this area. In this IRRS follow-up mission, it was a great push forward for us to further improve our process. Furthermore, in this mission, we have added a new topic as a topic of review, which is the regulation on the radioactive material land transportation, or regulation regarding the land transportation of radioactive material is following IAEA safety standard, and that was recognized. However, we still receive several recommendations and suggestions. We would like to receive this wholeheartedly and work harder to make an improvement. The IRRS follow-up mission will produce a report, which is going to be finalized after several procedures within IAEA in 3 months' time. But before the completion of this report, we would like to get started and make necessary improvement efforts for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So now the floor is open for questions. Any questions you may have, if I can ask you to introduce yourself and the media you represent. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Yes.
Araki from Mainichi newspaper. My question goes to Commissioner Fuketa. New inspection system has been highly appreciated in this review. You said that what particular aspect was highly appreciated and evaluated? Well, the inspection system itself will be coming into force on April 1st of this year, so it is not yet at the implementation stage. However, prior to that, various documents supporting this inspection system, development of those official documents, as well as inspectors' human resources and training. And also within the inspection, the evaluation mechanism is existing in order to evaluate the gravity of incidents. At the preparatory stage, which is the current stage, we were recognized that we developed well enough, properly and adequately. However, the review report will be published only 3 months from today, so I cannot review any details today here. However, overall, it was recognized by the review team that IRR's requirements are met by us, and we are very happy about that. Thank you very much.
Speakers want to add anything on this topic?
As a team leader perspective, should I slow down for translation or it's okay? From a team leader perspective, what is the improvement? Key improvement coming is the powers of the inspector for them to enter the facility at any time. And that is a great improvement from prior to the Fukushima accident and the enhancement to the regulatory program. The training associated with the inspectors and the inspector program is key, and the powers granted to the inspector is a great improvement. As the chairman mentioned, a lot more work needs to be done for the implementation of the program itself, but they are on the right track. They have developed the tools, and they have the competency and the staff resources to do their inspection.
Thank you very much. Yes, the next gentleman.
From Japan Keizai Shimbun, Mr. Fukuoka, I have 2 points to Mr. Jamal. The first question is, in this press release text and your earlier comment, you have mentioned twice that Japanese industry, we have to collaborate more with the Japanese industry, with the industry, nuclear industry. What do you mean that currently the NRA, the communication with the industry is not sufficient? Based on that understanding, you have made that comment. Could you clarify that?
Thank you for your question. Currently, the RA has a limited discussions with the industry. From the team's perspective, and benchmarking against other regulatory bodies, it is key for the regulatory body to have communications with the industry to understand the challenges or the improvements that the industry is taking. And no regulators in the world know as much as the industry. What I'm trying to say, for a regulator to be informed and an effective regulator must be in communication with the industry to understand innovation technology coming on board, improvements as the industry should take. And the regulator can, as a matter of fact, push the industry to take research or enhancement by the needs for enhanced nuclear safety, and that is the role of the regulator. An isolated regulator will not do servers for nuclear safety. Communication without giving up the independence of the regulator is key for enhancement to safety.
Thank you very much. Based on your comment, Mr. Chairman Fuketa, would you like to comment? I understand that, as I told you earlier, the report is not finalized. This is linked to a very specific findings. I have explained the current situation, and then still they gave us a comment, which was when we do the human resources development, we have to make sure that the forefront resource development is done at the industry side. Of course, the inspector is resident. We have a resident inspector at the site. However, the people in the headquarters who are engaged in the regulatory work, if they do not have a shop floor experience, that is not good, and it should be encouraged that our regulator has to have a forefront experience. On the other hand, the industry has a rich list of training courses, education courses, and in the past we have never sent our staff to get participated in the industry training courses. But if you look overseas, it's done frequently. Those people in the safety area, the regulatory body staff is frequently participated in the education and training courses offered in the industry. And this is a precaution in a way from the accident of Fukushima. The NRA staff, I don't mean we never send to the industry or staff to the industry education system. We have done such in the past. However, the nuclear power plant has a operator training courses, and we have to open a process in which the NRA staff can participate in such courses. Currently, CEO and CNO level, or and the people in the review have a good communication. We have a good top level people's communication or communication with the people in the review. Or research and technology area, in order to enhance our competence, we have, without compromising the conflict of interest and independence issue, but we still have to promote the exchange or communication. And this cannot be done one-sided. We have to have the understanding from the industry side as well. Some of the people may think they don't feel comfortable having regulatory people on site. So I have another questions to Jamal. In the press release text, some of the recommendation includes regulatory oversight increase in the radiation protection area. Do you feel that the current efforts by NRA, in which sense, is not sufficient?
Thank you again for your question. The comment is arising from the improvements made to date by the NRA. As always, the new standards come into effect around the world. The initial mission evaluated the NRA based on a release IEA safety standard. There is now a new release. And when I say new release, it is not a brand new. So the NRA has a proper foundation for the radiation protection. What we are telling them to do is enhance the radiation protection to become in line with the new changes. If you want percentage, they have over 90% of the foundation in place. We're encouraging them to continue to go towards the other, not even 10%. I mean, the numbers are not real, but it's hypothetical to give you an idea how much they have in place. So the foundation is very solid, just in continuous improvement.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you very much for those questions. Yes, another question.
Takeuchi from Kyoto Press Agency. My question for Mr. Jamal. This is a follow-up question to the previous question from Nikkei newspaper. reporter, in terms of communication with the industry, Chairman Fuketa also touched upon that the authority need to be cautious enough about the conflict of interest or the reluctancy and the independency. So do you have any comments on this to further elaborate?
Yes. Again, thank you for your question. Definitely to add to what Chairman Fuketa has mentioned with respect to collaboration between regulator and industry. There is the training program is one aspect. The other aspect is when a regulator is isolated and is imposing requirements that will not enhance safety from the operations to the public and the environment, that is a wrong decision to take. So in addition to the training, in addition of communication, it's important for the regulator to have requirements in place that will not divert the operators from key safety issues to implement minor safety requirements. I am not saying that the NRA does it, but it's always important to have that communication with the industry with the independence of the regulatory decision in order to make sure that what the industry is doing makes the regulator aware of the progress and they can amend the requirements in order to ensure safety and maintain at all levels. That's one comment I would like to complement to the chairman's discussion. But I would like to reiterate that is common practice for educational purposes and learning purposes around the world that many government employees, and I'm going to say because we are all belong to a government, and the regulator staff, I can speak from Canada perspective, take a training course for the operators in order for the inspectors to fully understand the depth of the operation, and they have a better knowledge in regulating the industry. And that is the purpose of us allowing and making comment, enhanced communication between the NRA and the industry.
Thank you. And independency and transparency, including these independency and transparency regarding the touch point between NRA or authority and the industry, what should be the points of the caution so that there is no misunderstanding or misleading outcome of the communication?
Sorry, I did not get the point of caution.
So where the authority NRA needs to pay attention to so that the independency or transparency is not compromised through communication with the industry.
Thank you for the question. The system in place that currently exists at the NRA has full independence with respect to the regulatory decision of the inspector and the final regulatory decision by the commission. So there is an added layer of what we call in the nuclear industry defense in depth in the decision making. So the inspector has findings in place, and the discussion takes place with headquarters with respect to the regulatory action. So there is an added review by the NRA with respect to the findings of the inspection, and then they will make a regulatory action. So your question is there a conflict of interest? The answer is no, from what we have heard from the staff and what we have read in the preparatory material. So there is always the final decision is made by someone who is independent of the inspector, and there is always a verification of the finding from the NRA headquarters to render a regulatory decision. So that added layer of oversight provides independence and in the decision making.
Thank you very much. You have a follow-up question?
すみません、ありがとうございます。あと、総括的な
Thank you.
問いにはなるんですが、前回のイニシャルミッションと今回の
Compare the initial mission and this time mission. If you the regulatory body before the Fukushima did not have independence and not effective, but after the accident, Japanese standard of regulatory, the national regulatory body in Japan compared to overseas regulatory body, which level are they in terms of the independence and effectiveness and so forth?
The NRA, in our consideration, is one of the best regulators in the world. And I'm saying one of the best regulators in the world. The amount of work and improvements that has taken place is very impressive. So they are, in our opinion, a very mature, competent, effective regulator. Having said that, every regulatory body needs to always strive towards continuous enhancement for safety. Otherwise, they become complacent. So prior to the Fukushima Daiichi accident and today, just like day and night, completely separate organization, very strong independent review. Transparency is proven, and their decision-making process is very solid.
Thank you very much. You have another question? Any of the other speakers want to add something on this point?
My name is Fukushi from Asahi. In the press release, that Mr. Gregg mentioned that the NRA has to protect, has to risk commensurate regulatory body and program has to be enhanced. What do you mean by that? That is, I'm reading an excerpt from your text, which is included in the press conference. What do you mean by that?
Thank you very much for the question. So basically what I was trying to express in this statement is that any regulatory actions, any regulatory decision have to be commensurate with the risk posed by regulated facilities or activities. So that means that a graded approach has to be applied. This leads to optimization of regulatory actions to make sure that in some instances the facilities are not over-regulated or under-regulated. So that's generally what I wanted to express in this statement.
In that sense, to be more specific, within the facility you have overlooked, were there any were there any example in which there were too much regulation imposed in a certain facility or activity?
That's a very difficult question for me to answer. You know, the IRRS mission is intended to assess the completeness of regulatory framework. We don't look at the effectiveness of the regulatory framework. So for that, you need a lot of practice and experience, as a matter of fact. And I am absolutely sure that inspectors and assessors working in the NRA possess the experience required to effectively implement risk and performance insight into the decision-making process. This is absolutely crucial to effective regulations. We are talking about regulatory independence. We are talking about transparency of discussion, communication, etc. Because this interface between the regulator and operators, if it's effective, it's really the single difference maker between the safe and unsafe operation of the plants. But at the same time, it has to be recognized that ultimately the operator is responsible for the safety of the plant.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? Yes.
すみません。電力産業界の専門誌の電気新聞の近藤
from Electric Power Newspaper and Industry Paper. Questions to Mr. Jamal regarding inspection system. A lot of progresses were recognized through this time review. And sorry to talk about the future, but the system comes into force in April this year. So in order for the system to be implemented successfully, what will be the focuses? What will be important for successful implementation?
We are independent reviewers that came into the NRA to review the progress that was made from 2016 and today. So the program itself, as it was reviewed by the experts, is a very solid program for the foundation towards the full implementation in April of 2020. The implementation itself has started. We found enough evidence in place that the existing inspectors have the adequate training in place, and they will be able to perform under the new inspection program the progress that was made to date. So we evaluate the program itself. We were able to determine from the existing competency of staff that they are on the right track. But Chairman Fuketa will have to answer the question with respect to full implementation. And that's why we are encouraging the NRA to continue the implementation of such a good program.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Yes.
Inamura from Yomiuri newspaper. I have a question to Mr. Jamar. Before the accident, Fukushima accident, there were more than 50 nuclear power plants in Japan. However, with the new NRA, only 9 nuclear power plants restarted its operation. So from the promotion side, the review is prolonging. The process of reviewing is prolonging, and they said, some of them said the process is insufficient. So from an IAEA point of view, the extension, what do you see as a reason for extension of this review process? And is there any way we can improve and expedite this process? Maybe the good communication between the operator and the regulator will enhance the process? Or what is your understanding and what is your recommendation?
My understanding of the process with respect to is the NRA applying adequate process in place, and do they have the adequate requirements in place? The answer is yes. With respect to the process itself, the NRA has its own integrated management system in order for the staff to follow processes in the evaluation of the application. And I must say, I am not a diplomat nor a politician, so my answer is going to be straightforward. The process of the NRA belongs to the NRA itself. In our opinion, the NRA will have to have enough information to demonstrate to itself that the decision it's taking is adequate with respect to the national requirement. With respect to the timeline associated with the decision, the NRA will have to answer that question. We did not evaluate how long it takes for the NRA to make a decision. We evaluated, is there adequate requirements and program in place for the NRA to have informed information to render its decision. It will be up to the NRA to determine its business timeline by which they render a decision. But in Japan, there is a different complexity associated in the operations of the reactor, where you have a decision-making at the NRA level, and there is decision-making at the local level, and that these two I'll leave it up to Chairman Fuketa to talk about. But from our perspective, we focus only on the NRA capability, not on the local decisions or the political interference at times with respect to any nuclear policy decision-making.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions from the audience? No? So the press conference ends here. I want to thank you all so much for coming and for your showing interest and for your questions, and also to the speakers for responding. Thank you.